The water comes up to the waist, and it's warm. No waves. A wall of rock breaks them before they arrive. Small fish drift past your feet, and the ocean floor is completely visible. And this isn't a tour, and it isn't a cenote. It's the resort's own beach, just steps from the rooms. This is a Hilton all-inclusive resort on the Pacific coast with 444 rooms and 12 restaurants and bars. Today I'm showing you everything around that beach and the one real flaw of this resort, the one that has nothing to do with the water. It's on land, and it's the reason the review split right down the middle. Stick around, because what you're about to see isn't in any other review. Getting there means leaving downtown Puerto Vallarta behind and following the highway south. In under 15 minutes, the city fades out, the mountains close in on the ocean, and around a curve, two white towers appear, wedged between the jungle and the coast. The lobby is open air with no walls closing it in, so the first thing that hits you isn't cold air conditioning, it's the smell of salt and the sound of water below. Your eyes go straight to the horizon, and it's hard to look away. At 9 in the morning, that open air design is the best thing about this resort. By 3 in the afternoon, it's part of the problem, but we'll get to that. The first surprise isn't the size, it's what you see along the shore. Two arms of rock reaching into the ocean, enclosing the resort's own beach. That breakwater stops the Pacific swell before it touches the sand, leaving behind a strip of still, clear water where you can spot fish from dry land. Guests describe it the same way, over and over, a saltwater pool. Some spend the entire week without setting foot in an actual pool. And that's where the first contrast shows up. The resort has two oceanfront infinity pools, one for families, one adults only with a swim-up bar. Two pools for 444 rooms. Hold on to that number because it explains a lot of what's coming. Rooms are split between two towers, north and south, and every single one, no exceptions, faces the ocean. There's no such thing as a parking lot view here. Every room has its own balcony, and the larger suites have a terrace. What does change is the height. The higher you go, the more of Banderas Bay opens up, and that difference is a lot more noticeable in person than it looks in photos. At the end, I'll leave you with a practical resource with more details on the resort, tour ideas, and a clearer way to plan your trip before you book. Something similar happens with the food as with the beach. There's a clear favorite, and it's not the one you'd expect. Between restaurants and bars, there are 12 options. The buffet is called Vela Food Hall, a spacious dining hall with live cooking stations that change every day, serving breakfast from 7 to noon, lunch from 1 to 5, and dinner from 6 to 10:30. Around it are the specialty spots. Maxal, which travels across Mexico from Oaxacan moles to Michoacan-style carnitas, Sunan, Southeast Asian cuisine, Sunan sushi, Japanese with ocean views, Gocomar, open air, serving ceviche and seafood, Sea Salt, open air grill, and La Luce, an Italian trattoria with wood-fired oven. Ask anyone who stayed here which dinner was their favorite, and they'll say La Luce. And here's the tip only past guests know. Reservations for the specialty restaurants need to be booked the same day early. Several guests report that by mid-afternoon, there was nothing left. The days fill up on their own. Oceanfront yoga, aqua fitness, beach volleyball and soccer, salsa classes, huicho art workshops, and free kayaking. There's a kids club for children ages 4 to 12. Heads up, it runs in short, separate blocks throughout the day, and that's not always mentioned when you book. A baby zone and a teen zone, a space just for teenagers with photography, street art, dance, and music workshops. There's also a spa. It's called Euphoria, open from 9 in the morning to 7 in the evening, offering massages, facials, and a hydrotherapy circuit with sauna, steam room, and cold plunge pools. Access to the area and the gym is included in the rate. Massages and the circuit are extra. But what almost nobody expects happens after sunset. One night, it's a Vegas-style casino with poker, blackjack, and roulette. Another night, it's a silent disco, everyone with their own headphones dancing to their own music in total silence. And another, a water show with acrobatic dancers and lights over the pool. If you're into resorts that keep things this alive, hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss the ones we bring you every week. And now, the 13th floor. Enclave is the resort's top tier, and it's not just about a bigger room. It comes with separate check-in, no line, a concierge who lands you those dinner reservations, and above all, the Enclave Lounge, a private lounge on that 13th floor, open from 6 in the morning to 11 at night, with its own breakfast, real coffee any time of day, premium drinks at sunset, and the best view in the resort. The rooms add a jacuzzi tub. Is it worth the difference? It comes down to one question, and you'll understand it in a minute. Because at the end of the day, this is what's left. The sun dropping behind the mountains, the wave-free water throwing back the orange light, and live music from the lobby blending with the sound of the ocean. That strange feeling of being in a massive resort and at the same time having the water almost to yourself. If this video's helping you out, smash that like button and send it to that person who's already hunting for where to go this year. And before I get into the pros and cons of this resort, there's something worth sorting out before you travel. Check the resort's own page. The Malecón, the Zona Romántica, the marina, the tequila tasting, and the spa's hydrotherapy circuit are all listed as additional experiences. In plain terms, they're not part of the all-inclusive. And if you leave them to book at the front desk when you arrive, you'll pay the front desk rate and risk finding no spots left during peak season. That's why on our site, alongside the full review, we've combined a selection of local excursions with compared prices and flexible cancellation. Scan the QR code on screen or head to the link in the description. I told you at the start that this resort's fault isn't in the water, it's on land. Time to tell you what it is. What you're about to hear is what nobody on the official site will tell you. The resort holds a 4.5 out of 5 on Google, with more than 5,700 reviews, and an 8.8 out of 10 on Booking.com. A clear pattern shows up. The beach and the views never disappoint, and the on-the-ground staff get named praise inside furious reviews. Abraham at Sunan, Ana at the Enclave Lounge, Gilberto at Maluche, and Victor at the Sky Bar come up so often they're practically part of the resort. One guest summed it up. With the breakwater, it feels like a pool. But there are 3 things worth knowing before you arrive, and all 3 come from the same root cause. This resort sells more rooms than its operation can actually handle. That's its one real flaw. Everything else is just a consequence. First, arrival. There are reviews of waits of an hour or more at check-in, and Sunday is the busiest day. Arrive on a weekday and never before 3 in the afternoon. Second, the loungers. They get claimed early, and the rule against it isn't enforced. Worth knowing something the resort itself clarified in a review response. Beach and pool loungers are included, and only the Bali beds cost extra. Head down early and don't overspend. And third, the specialty restaurants. During peak season, the wait runs past an hour. Book early. The buffet never has that kind of wait. It's not the perfect resort, but for families looking for a wave-free Pacific beach with snorkeling right off the shore, it's one of the best options in Puerto Vallarta. Before I wrap up, here's the resource I promised you to help plan your trip and stop wasting time hunting everything down separately. On our site, you'll find the full review of Hilton Vallarta Riviera, practical tips before you book, and the recommended excursions in the area. The goal isn't to tell you where to book, it's to help you compare more clearly based on your dates, your budget, and the kind of trip you want. Scan the QR code on screen or head to the link in the description. The price per night for 2 starts at $380 in low season, and at the Enclave level, it can run past $1,000 during peak season. Now it's your turn. Would this resort make your list, or do you know another one that deserves a spot on the channel? Drop it in the comments. And if you want to keep exploring Puerto Vallarta, the next video is already waiting for you.